The NBA season is a few months away, but there are still tons of sports for you to get in the game and make your next bet with Sports Interaction. Bet before the game or live and play on all of your favorite teams' matchups. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN or download the app to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Welcome to SDPN's off-season mini-series, The Leap, where I sit down with media members from across the NBA to discuss some of the up-and-coming players in the league that could take that next step in their careers. We discuss 6 players across 6 different teams, all with different styles and positions, in hopes of understanding what makes their development unique. Today, we're looking at Orlando Magic guard Jalen Suggs, who has battled through injuries through the first 2 seasons of his career. The former Gonzaga product who went 5th overall in the 2021 draft hasn't had the start to his career many expected, but he's shown flashes of an elite complementary guard, developing as a shooter, playmaker, and honing in on becoming one of the best guard defenders in the league. But how does he put it all together consistently? How does Suggs take that next leap? All right, so we're joined by Orlando Magic aficionado, someone who follows the team very in depth, has written some really cool pieces about the Orlando Magic over the course of this last season. Been following your work for a little bit here. Saw you at Summer League, enjoyed some time.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted to ask you in general about Jalen Suggs. This video we're working on right now is about Jalen Suggs and what he might potentially be moving forward next season and sort of for the rest of his career. As an overview, I just wanted to start off with a base level of where you're at with what Jalen Suggs potentially could be moving in the future, what he has been over the first couple of years of his career, and sort of like where do you sit on what he can be?
No doubt. Jalen Suggs is hopefully Orlando's lockdown corner for years to come at the guard position. I mean, He's just that versatile defender. He played it in high school, actually, in addition to quarterback. While he was playing football, he was a defensive back as well. So, you just can see him chasing guards around screens, around the defense from the baseline at point of attack, beating the opposition to the ball before the player even gets the pass, like running off a screen. He does that for like 1 pick six a game already, chasing guards around at point of attack. So like he's really proven there, just making life hard for opposing guards. And it seems like there's no reason that's going to stop anytime soon. And then he adds the strength and versatility to be able to bang with power forwards down low. Like Kevin Love was the best example, where he was just trying to back him down on the block like a notoriously great post-up player, and he just gave no ground, nothing moving for Suggs. And K-Love gave him a little tap, like, nice move, young fella, like you got me on that one. So it's nice to see that. So, I mean, there's a lot of versatility there from the guard. So you see the upside as a defender along the lines of all the best guard defenders in the league, like as Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart, Derek White type of defender there. Yeah. And there's a lot to like defensively, and especially given the Orlando's offensive drive and kick system already built around Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Markelle Fultz, and now Anthony Black, all these 6'7" plus long, tall ball handlers running, driving and kicking, pick and rolls endlessly. You can envision the opportunity for Suggs to only need to really thrive in those closeout attacking opportunities off of those driving kicks, where he might not have to have a huge on-ball scoring creation load if that's not his specialty. So like the ideal role for him there, like the most improved type of like potential for him is probably as a defender, thriving in the off-ball play finishing role while still being able to go off for 20 points any given night, because he's found a few specific skills that are working. Like his handoff play types, where he's running off a screen for a DHO like a Chicago or a stagger screen. He's scoring like 1.1 points per possession. It's one of the most efficient half-court plays on the team, just as efficient up there with any of the other ball handlers running on ball plays.
Yeah.
And that's a two-man game. Well, like anything, like strong screens from Wendell Carter helped that. He's really and Mo Wagner in the second unit, and now Goga Batadze. But who, by the way, I'll throw in a little fun fact there: Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and Goga Batadze in 114 minutes together in the second unit. Once Goga entered the fold last season, had a plus 15 net rating, and that was the highest of any three-man unit on the team for the whole season. Now it's only just over 100 minutes, so like the starting front court, So the starting front court probably had 500 minutes and was still positive. So
yeah, right.
That's better, okay. But
so
a lot to hit there.
Yeah, that was a lot. But I mean, to dissect some of it, we can start on the defensive end. You mentioned some of the qualities that he has. I love the fact that you said he can guard up in size and be a guy who can defend in the post as well. That kind of, as a guy who covers the Raptors, that instantly gives me, remembering Kyle Lowry, because, just with like the lower body, and Suggs is similar to that, right? Their lower body is so sturdy that their center of gravity just makes it so much easier for them to, one, be lower when they're defending bigger, right? And that reminds me of guys like Marcus Smart. Derek White has gotten really, really good at that. It's just being able to guard up in size is something that Suggs, as this sort of stocky guard, can thrive at. And I'm curious to see what that means for him being in these transitional lineups for Orlando. You mentioned the size, but then there's also the factor of there's a lot of guards on this team, right? Ant Black, you mentioned one, Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, now Suggs as well, who has been injured for the first couple of seasons of his career. Like he I believe both seasons he's played less than 60 games. And I think, like, moving forward, that's obviously going to be a concern, how healthy he can be, and essentially how much you're able to rely on a guy like that. But do you think the fact that he's so versatile defensively can make him be more of use in different types of lineups?
Right, exactly. That versatility defensively allows him to play with just about any lineup, and we're talking about Suggs still in that sense. So his ability defensively helps him play with starters, with backups, and just about any of these tall ball handlers that we mentioned that are offensive creators. And really, I think it's more on the offensive side that will determine kind of his playing time. And then two other big factors also for him are health and consistency, because he's dealt with some injuries as well. Really, the biggest factor between why has Jalen Suggs not necessarily started every game he's been as the fifth pick? Why don't they just throw him out there? Because they're trying to win games, and Gary Harris has provided a little more consistency at the two, just night to night. You know what you're getting. Team first, two-way, strong rotation play. Exactly what they want as that fifth starter. And the big thing with Gary is he morphed. He did what you're saying. He morphed his game as Franz entered the fold and as Paulo entered the fold, seeing his usage drop dramatically.
Right.
His catch and shoot 3-point attempts raised dramatically, and his efficiency was through the roof there. So he's doing everything they could want from the starter position. That's why they brought him back this summer.
Yeah.
And that's someone they can rely on to be that two-guard play finisher, off-ball guy to kind of do what we just mentioned is what we hope Suggs could do eventually
too.
Get
to that point. Yeah.
Exactly. So like you would hope Suggs has that consistency, stays healthy, can defend as strong or better than Gary Harris, and can shoot the three ball relatively on the same volume or same respect from the defense. And from there, he has the higher on-ball potential as the on-ball scorer with all his, proven ball skills as a passer, as a live dribble quarterback, throwing inbounds passes is what he's known for. So there's a lot to love there.
I agree with you, and I think a lot of people offensively will jump straight to the shooting, and so let's address that here just to kind of talk about it. Year one, he was a 22% catch and shoot player, went to 34% on 2.1 attempts. Year one on pull-ups, he was 30% from three. I believe it was 19% for his rookie year. And then year 2, he jumped up to 34% on pull-ups. That's all pull-ups, and that's 30% from 3. So there's a pretty good improvement there from year 1 to year 2. And I forgot to mention that he hit 41% of his corner threes last year, which is sort of an indication of a guy who's expanding his range a little bit more, is going to be at some point a better catch and shoot player. I feel like obviously people are going to harp on this when it comes to Jalen Suggs looking forward into what he can be in the future. Is that shooting going to pop eventually? Where are you on him as an offensive player, how that relates to his shooting, and I guess overall how much the shooting has to do with him inevitably hitting his quote unquote ceiling?
Yeah, you hit on the biggest point, both his improvement in from year to year, the 10% increase, but that's really, really positive there as an indicator for just from 3-point percentage. It's similar if you look at Marcus Smart stats. That's really the closest comp in terms of bringing the defense right away, team first type of play, but kind of a streaky shooter at first. Wasn't too proven. The percentage wasn't right there, but eventually the volume, the percentage hit a good amount. And with points per possession, when you're measuring efficiency and all this volume and all these threes, you really just need to kind of reach some base level of respectability from the defense. So while 30% might not do it, 33, 34, 35 in certain situations is respectable enough for some players. And obviously, Gary Harris is hitting 44%, 43%. Right. So if you want to take his position, beat out the veteran, you got to beat the veteran. You got to outplay him. So you got to make it up. Either if you're not going to hit that, you got to make it up in other ways. So definitely 100%. And to answer your other question as well in a roundabout way, that the 3-point shot is the biggest swing skill for sure at this point, because at least for maybe not for his entire game, but at least for his long-term fit with this team, because the team is pretty clearly rounding out a pecking order quickly of Paolo and Franz are there, and Fultz and Anthony Black are now these 2, 6, 7 point guards in the fold that are going to take a lot of on-ball touches when those other two aren't getting them. And, Cole Anthony's proven he can run the pick and roll just as efficiently as Franz, even if, it might not appear that way visually sometimes. He's really improved as a decision maker, a scoring creator. He has his own mid-range. He has his whole own game, even, and especially as a second unit guard where he can maybe play a little more when his 3-point shot is hitting and maybe play a little less when it's not. And that's where other defenders might take those minutes. And, we see guys like Kevon Harris and Admiral Schofield really actually steal minutes and round out the rotation when these guys got hurt. So those are the type of guys that kind of take the minutes when the prospects, the star prospects, aren't hitting their shots some nights. So they have to look over their shoulder just because they know everyone on this team is ready to go, ready to defend, play some team first ball, and try to, fight to the last minute, because that's what, Jamal Mosley's coaching style is all about.
Right. I love because I think the way you contextualize it makes me feel more confident about where he might be, even if the shot doesn't develop. I think even earlier on you mentioned, he is a bully ball driver. He's a guy who's going to be able to get to the rim. He's a guy who's going to be able to attack a closeout, uses athleticism, uses, like I said, the sheer size that he has to be able to get to the cup. He was, what is it right here? 1.09 off cuts, which is per NBA.com. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but that shows he's a good off-ball mover, a guy who's willing to cut and be a guy who's involved in the offense, not just as an initiator and as a ball handler. Super important.
Lethal in transition, off ball, lethal. He's a missile. He can't be stopped. And the deceleration control, the body control is really improving. And one more thing on the 3-point shooting, we've had some moments. We got in 2021, he came out against the Nets when it was I want to say the Durant and Kyrie Nets, and who knows who was healthy at that time, but he came out with 17 first quarter points, 4 pull-up threes, and one of his pick sixes on a slam. Nice. And I was just all right, we got him. The moment's here, future star, it's over. the Brandon Roy hype, the Chauncey Billups hype. Like, this is it.
This is
He's
it.
coming.
We're witnessing this.
This is it. And then even this season, we
I
got
was
one more
gonna
moment.
say, yes,
The
yeah,
Bulls. The Bulls game. You know, you tell them the game winner.
No, I know
The
the game winner.
handoff.
Huge shots.
Or
He
the
hit some.
spinning shot. It was like a spinning step back or something. He just to beat the buzzer in
Yeah,
Chicago, just pulling up to win it. I mean, so he's had a moment in the clutch, some moments where he just gets hot on a given night. So
yeah,
there's that, and then there's other like indicators for his shooting that like he was hurt his first injury in Orlando here, and he came back an improved finisher at the rim after really practicing that during his injury. He was hurt with one thing, but able to practice his finishing and came back an improved finisher. So just that work ethic and, solid all around scoring efficiency at free throw percentage and field goal percentage, like just really offers an all around secondary scoring creator game where you would hope that strength and bully ball could skew more towards a Drew Holiday ultimately as the full upside. But even as a high floor type of looking at it, like just as his floor, like the defense and his athleticism, his speed shouldn't be going anywhere anytime soon. And that, especially given how young he is and how young the league is, like he should be this athletic as long as he stays healthy for 5 years at least. He's 27, 28 for their athletic prime sometimes. So that alone should keep him in the league in rotations for a long time. And the more the offense becomes consistent, the more defined his role will become. I mean, it can bring him from a rotation player to the starter to a star just based on that consistency.
So I'll to kind of round this discussion out about Jalen. What does his role? What do you envision from him next season, specifically next year? Because a lot of this is bigger picture, but going into next season, knowing the Magic are now sort of in, I don't want to say win now mode, but they're looking to win games. They're not, you know what I mean? They're right.
Three seed, 4 seed.
Look, they're trying to be
Fultz
a playoff
tweeted
team.
it last year.
I like it.
It's coming.
Like it. So where do you see Suggs? Where do you envision Suggs in the rotation? Where do you see him playing? Obviously, we mentioned the guard stuff a little bit earlier, but how does he fit into next year's roster? And does that facilitate growth from him? Is he being put in a position to thrive next year in Orlando, or do you think it's gonna be a little tough for him?
Right. I mean, since Orlando brought back Gary Harris, first things first is beating out Gary for that starting spot, and I don't think it's a given yet by any means. I mean, Gary's earned it with the 3-point volume and the consistency and the team first play. So if Suggs, on top of that, we mentioned the 3-man unit with Cole, Suggs, and Goga. Yeah. That was a real reliable bench unit. That started to feel like, all right, we know our second wave is consistent who they are. We're not going with 5 new bench players every time out there. Like the system isn't changing because Cole brings another pick and roll threat off the bench when Fultz goes to the bench at the guard position. And normally they leave 1 or 2 of Franz and Paolo out there. So it really does feel like, a second starting unit in that sense, a second wave of starting caliber players. So at the moment, Suggs thriving in that role will have to prove it as a 3-point shooter and consistent team first play, decision making on the ball, and really just maintain what he did as a handoff threat and just continue what he already does, everything that we just mentioned. But in terms of how he can improve or next season, it's just, how does he see that opportunity? Like he just has to prove it over Gary, I think, is the big one. And then the other huge factor is Anthony Black and Jet Howard are entering the rotation. Jet's a shooter. I mean, Jet's a wing. He might be that 3-point shooter that the team goes with on nights, especially if he's hitting. And Anthony Black is a 6'7" guard who can play small forward, point forward sometimes too. So will he be at the 3 on that bench unit at first? Will he be playing some guard instead and taking more minutes at the guard? So there's a lot of competition for Suggs, and it really comes down to just that consistency from deep and staying healthy and really bringing that all around some of his skills to one more level of putting it all together, tightening up the handle a little bit for his on-ball self-creation would be huge for his upside because, it'll really kind of determine how much his offensive capabilities are between like the huge upside of a Brandon Roy or a Drew Holiday ISO type of self-creator, post up scorer, or just using his strength and skill to do whatever, or more of like an off-ball play finisher, like a Chauncey Billups or a Marcus Smart catch and shoot 3-point threat who's making the right passes, connecting, where that's kind of the range of the star upside. But that's ideally where he would have to get to be able to take over,
get to that level,
starting minutes and take over minutes from all these other guys, because pecking order wise in the rotation, there's Paulo, Franz, and Fultz are pretty much locked in as the top 3 ball handlers for the foreseeable future. Yeah. And Wendell's just about done everything to earn his spot at starting center. So unless that defense starts to crater a little bit for some reason, there's no reason those 4 aren't staying. So they kind of know what they need at the 2, which is what we described, what Gary's thriving in, and what Suggs would need to do to take that opportunity and get the playing time, get the fit, and get everything right there. And, it doesn't mean his game is bad. It just might not fit exactly with what the Magic need going forward if that opportunity goes away, because he's obviously great at everything we mentioned: transition, defense, point of attack. He could be an elite defender already, like Davion Mitchell for Sacramento coming off the bench, like just as super strong, super speed, just locking down people. I'm trying to think of Suggs' nickname for next year. I got either sneaky or stealth mode. We're looking at two good options.
I like it.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah, get back to me on that. Look, Jalen Suggs, I'm excited. I just, as a person who was, covering the Toronto Raptors when it came to that draft class, Suggs was a guy that always appealed to what we were looking for. Yeah, it was a close one. Yeah,
could have been Scotty or Suggs the whole time.
Yep, absolutely. And I will be looking forward to seeing how he turns out throughout the rest of his career. I'm still a big Suggs believer. That's why we're doing this video on him, because I really do think he has the ability to be a huge part of whatever this next iteration of Orlando Magic basketball is. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch next year between not only Suggs, but just the entire Orlando Magic roster is just going to be a lot of fun to watch. RK, thank you very much. I appreciate you. For everybody who hasn't, beyond the RK, if you want, on Twitter, on social media, go and follow him. Do the things. He does great work. And thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in to one of the episodes of The Leap. I don't know. We're still working on the branding for this thing, but thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, The Leap. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you guys for the next one, I guess.
Appreciate you.
Cool. All done.